review and delimitation exercise. As you are aware, as late as last year, 2025, the commission has been sued by a section of Kenyans demanding for orders to compel the commission to undertake the boundary delimitation ahead of the August 2027 general election. And therefore we are saying this continued litigation poses a risk to our work, and depending on the outcome of the cases now and that might be filed in future, it is a risk that we as the Commission are aware of and are alive to. Fourth, the advisory opinion of the Supreme Court last year, before we assumed office, the Supreme Court rendered its advisory opinion in this matter and directed that the Commission must apply its mind on this issue and must make a decision on which way forward. And the timeline, of course, it took for us to receive that advisory opinion, and the uncertainty around the constitutional issues and timelines, and the absence of commissioners, as I've said before, and the pronouncement that the Secretariat alone could not, in the absence of commissioners, undertake any boundary reviews. Those are some of the risks, so those are some of the factors that impacted negatively on the comprehensive delimitation of the boundaries. As we move forward, you are aware, as Kenyans, that we have other competing electoral priorities. Elections and indeed boundary delimitations are complex processes involving multiple stakeholders and involving multiple stages. The Commission is currently managing critical electoral cycle activities, including by-elections, which we completed the bigger part in November last year. We still have a few more by-elections in Mbere, we have others in Malava, and of course, Isiolo. And we are also managing continuous voter registration. We are also dealing with institutional reforms. There are a number of laws which we are currently working on to be presented to Parliament. We are also dealing with the challenges around voter education and stakeholder engagement as we prepare for the 2027 general elections. So therefore, what we are telling the nation is that undertaking full delimitation alongside these other competing and equally critical obligations would create significant operational bottlenecks and may compromise the overall electoral preparedness for the 2027 general election. While therefore aware of such constraints, the Commission has made a decision to undertake limited and phased activities towards electoral boundary reviews without compromising the quality and the level of preparedness for the upcoming general election, which is fast approaching. So the operative word is we have made a decision to undertake phased activities and limited activities towards the boundary delimitation without compromising our levels of preparedness for the 2027 general election. And of course, in our press release, we have explained what a phased approach means. So we have made that decision well aware of the time constraints that we have. And as guided by the Boundary Review Operational Plan, a full delimitation generally requires about 2 years. Experts will tell you, and we have our Professor Francis Adol here, it takes 2 years for us to complete that comprehensive delimitation exercise. And of course, we are aware of the limitations placed by the Constitution as well, under Article 89.4, that requires that a boundary review that is intended to be applied in the general election, for example, the 2027 general election, must be completed at least 12 months before that election. So we have challenges in terms of meeting those constitutional timelines, and I've explained the factors that led to that. The absence of the commissioners to undertake the policy decisions and oversight around the boundary review, and of course many other factors that I've outlined. So in light of the constraints and that we have observed above and the constitutional obligations of the Commission, we have also sought advice from the Attorney General previously, and subsequently we also received the advisory opinion of the Supreme Court. And we have, in arriving at our decision of using the phased approach to undertake the boundary reviews, we have taken into account all those advisory opinions. And of course, the matters that I've told you are currently pending before the court on that issue of the population, the National Population Census report. So taking into account, therefore, the constitutional requirements under Article 88 and 89, which articles have placed that mandate and function in the hands of this commission, and of course the statutory framework that is governing delimitation, including the IBC Act, Schedule 5, and of course all the advice that I've spoken about, and more importantly, the doctrine of constitutional necessity and binding judicial decisions on data. We have extensively deliberated on this issue, and as a result of all that, taking into account all those factors, the Commission has resolved that a phased approach is the most constitutionally sound and legally defensible course of action. And therefore, this approach will enable us, as the Commission, to meet our constitutional obligations on boundary reviews by helping us to advance our preparatory work while also monitoring the outcomes of the litigation processes that are currently pending before court on that particular issue of population census. In particular, the Commission will defer those processes that will require use of the National Housing and Population Census report pending the conclusion of that matter. While that remains the case, IBC will progressively and continuously implement other activities that are not affected by any litigation. Those activities will be undertaken in a phased approach, while also taking into account the time constraints and the resource requirements. Because we have a general election that will also require massive resources, and the boundaries delimitation process is also a complex process that will also require financial resources to undertake. So a phased approach will ensure that we immediately upscale those activities that we have agreed on, upscale them, including, of course, geodata collection, validation, capacity building, and acquisition of requisite tools. That phased approach will also ensure that we undertake these activities for this second review of the boundaries, while also monitoring our levels of preparedness for the 2027 general election. And when the time comes, the Commission will again look at where we are.
That has been the IEBC chairperson Erastus Ethekon Edung. They are giving a brief, actually flanked by other electoral heads and IEBC commissioners, just giving the country a status update of electoral activities in the country, and among what he has mentioned in regards to the by-elections, especially in Momenje and Evurori and other wards that have to do the by-elections. That is the following month that we are going, that is in February. And and also has mentioned something that has been quite pertinent, that is the delimitation of boundaries. Remember, according to the law, we should have done and dusted by 12 months to the election, and also talking about some of the challenges that they have actually met in regards to that. Actually, the timelines also, there were absence of IBC commissioners. They are actually less than 1 year in the office, and of course a number of pending court cases in court. That is why he's giving us an update in regards to that and why it has not been actualized. Of course, we will be getting more in regards to that, and especially the same discussion that we want to be talking about here, and especially in the wake of what happened on Sunday in Othaya. We have crafted a discussion where we'll be talking about the pulpit and politics. Where do we draw the line? Is this a new law, in church? We saw what happened, the chaos that was meted to innocent, and of course the children and women and all those who have gathered there. Are we, when it comes to our political intolerance, are we not getting there yet? It's 19 months to the elections. That is a discussion that we are having here. Allow me to introduce my panel of experts, beginning from my extreme right. We have Reverend Dr. Alphonse Kanga. Good to see you again.
Asante.
Dr. Alphonse is the National Council of Churches chairperson, regional chair.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
And just next to him, we have James Wanyande. James is the Director Investigations at the NCIC. Karibu sana, Bwana James.
Thank you, Bwana Njue. Thank you very much.
Let me begin with you, Reverend. And of course, I will also pick your mind in regards to what happened. But I would like you to pick your mind in regards to what happened on Sunday. Is this a new law when it comes to political intolerance in the country?
Thank you for having us this morning. We are glad and we sympathize with what happens, and it has not happened for the first time. It has been happening. We mentioned a number of them that have taken place sometimes back from 2020 up to today. There has been this kind of drama taking place in different parts of the country. And I will not say, is this a new law? Is it because it's not in our canonical law? It is not in our secular law. So all that is, I think, is barbaric. It is drama. It is something that's being used by individual because the end justifies the means. So it's not a law. It is sin. It is, in my language, is sin. It is uncalled for. If I'm on the other side, I'll say it is primitive. Why? Because you are doing something that you know it's going to hurt other people most. I don't know what will happen, my brother here, if you are seated here in this station and then you realize that somebody has prepared to go and attack your children in the house. Would you even sit here? Quickly rush here to go and say no. So is it a new law? A new law from who? Is it a new, is it a canonical law? From where? The scripture is so clear, which I believe in. So it is not. It is barbaric. It is out of order. If you think about the children, the young children, and then maybe if it's a new law, then we are not aware of the law. And the founders of that law, they are aware. That's why we are saying there are specific people that owe responsibility to Kenyans. There are specific people that should be an unqualified apology. They should offer an unqualified apology to tell Kenyans we are sorry. Why unqualified? And this is the statement we gave out recently as an NCCK, that we demand an unqualified apology from the Inspector General and the rest of the team. Because this new law, especially, let's go for what happened on Sunday. In this county of Nyeri, in Othaya, we have two teams. First of all, we all belong to the country. And in the country, we have a father. And that father guides us through the philosophy, through a particular guideline. In Othaya, we have the DCI department. In Othaya, we have the intelligence service in Othaya. Then you need to work our minds further to tell us that when this thing was happening, they were not aware. It defeats our logic. It doesn't meet logic to say that this thing was planned for a full week, and they knew this group of politicians, they were going there, And they were not aware this was going to happen, because to me this is crazy. Somebody's coming to attack your children and you sit and wait for him to attack your children. That's why I'm asking my friend, if he's DCI or is he as a parent, and then you are told, you are in charge, you are the DCI in that area, you are told the children are going to be tear gassed. Will you sit there and wait for that to happen? Then if they were there, the DCI, person in charge of DCI in Othaya and Njue, person in charge of NIS there, this time they should be home. They should have gone home, because definitely there must be somebody responsible. And let's not blame up, down, This, we begin with our workers.
Yeah.
And then from there we say, whatever side, whether it was organized by the other side or this other side, politicians have a way of operating, but they should not bring that operation into the place of worship.
James, NCCK, as you've heard, have come out strongly right now to condemn what exactly happened.
Yes.
And let's be honest, just like Daktari has mentioned here, is that it's not the first, the second, or even the 10th time that this has happened. As NCIC, are you keeping your eyes peeled for all this, and what actions do you plan to take?
Yes, thank you, Njue. I'll agree with the Reverend here. The events of Sunday were definitely very unfortunate. It is sad that such a thing can happen in a place of worship where people go to exercise certain freedoms. So whatever it is that happened, it looks like we are curtailing freedom of expression, freedom of association. So definitely that what happened was reprehensible, especially as you mentioned with 19 months to elections. We have to begin to develop trust in certain institutions. The institutions, government bodies that are entrusted to keep us safe, to conduct the elections. It's important that they begin to develop trust with the public. So the events that happened on Sunday are very unfortunate, and I think the relevant government agencies need to step in and undertake the necessary investigations. So as NCIC, of course, we're not happy, of course, with what happened on Sunday, because it shows, as you mentioned, political intolerance. And with 19 months to elections, it's possible that other sides will now begin to retaliate. And that's not a position that we want to have as a country. We would want a lot of tolerance in the country, everybody be able to speak their mind, sell their manifestos in peace, whether it's in a church, whether it's in a funeral, whichever public gathering it is, should be able to sell your manifesto in peace. So as NCIC, we also condemn what happened, whichever side it is that is alleged to have orchestrated it, because the allegations that one side is the police, the other side it's the opposition themselves who orchestrated. So whichever side it is that orchestrated it, it is very reprehensible.
And Doc, allow me to just ask this. NCCK, let me go back to the 90s, during the times of Reverend Njue. NCCK was viewed as more or less like the second opposition. They were very strong to castigate things that were happening in regards to political intolerance, just like we are seeing, and also in governance issues that are here. What exactly are you doing here as a step up to what we've already built up over the years from back in the 90s to now, to ensure that if it's 2027, it could be the best year in terms of elections, because we have seen the election cycles that we have, a lot of violence. Case in point, I was in the by-elections in Mbere North, and we saw what exactly happened. We haven't heard of any arrest, we haven't heard of any prosecutions. As NCCK,
somebody said education is the best weapon that you can have. As NCCK, we are preparing and we are structured to be able to educate the masses on their rights and what they are supposed to do. What are they supposed to do to make sure that they stand against some of these things that are happening, so that we can unite together. United will stand. Not only NCCK. For example, my friend here from where they stand, these things happen. Is the public aware that this is not right? Is that public aware of their rights? When that's happened to children, what's supposed to happen? As NCCK, what are we doing? We are working towards education. We are working towards to make sure that our structures are well informed before that day. And then not only that, we speak to the individuals that are given responsibility, just as we are saying, is that things that make logic, they make logic. But now this is not making logic because we are left wondering. We are laymen as far as security issues are concerned. But the little we know is that we have people that are paid with taxpayers. So as an institution, what are we asking? We are asking DCI or the NIS or the you get money from the taxpayers and you are there to protect us. Surely did this happen without you? If it happened and you are aware and you did not take any action, please just back up and come and preach with us. Come in the church, we do preaching, or we do something else, because this basically you advocate. So what are we doing? Information, because information is power, and then our own internal organization, and speaking to the people responsible that we need to hold together for the sake of our children and future. I imagine those children that were there, those who took tear gas, like it was bread for that, it was breakfast, or 10 o'clock tea. What will these children think about us in the future? What's their concept of parenting?
They don't even understand politics.
They don't even understand. They are not even part and parcel of it. They just know that adults are really against us. And that's why you see issues of Gen Z. When then Gen Z gets angry and they think we are jokers, it's out of that kind of drama. Because somebody must have thought better than that. From whatever side, you need to think better than that you have children there. So what are we doing? Those are the things we're involved in. We are part and parcel. And then we are asking our ministers in the pulpit to speak it out. Let's get the information and speak it out. Because when we create a narrative, a positive narrative, that will really help us to be able to move forward as a nation.
And James, as an investigator, are you disturbed that we are having this conversation right here, but we don't even know what happened, despite the fact that we can be able to see? Why am I saying this? You do remember the IG did say that we will conduct investigations, including the Interior Cabinet Secretary. Is this more or less like insulting the intelligence of Kenyans? Because what we saw vis-a-vis what we are hearing, every side is saying, oh, you're stage managed. We did see police vehicles which are evident. We did see people with sophisticated weapons which citizens are not allowed to have. In this discussion, we don't even know what happened. We've said whichever side, does it disturb you that we are not getting accountability in the beginning so that we may know exactly what happened and who are responsible for this?
I think, as you mentioned, yes, we don't quite know exactly what happened. Yes, there are things we witnessed on the television, but a lot of things that we see on TV might not be quite what they are. That's why I said it's important that the relevant agencies step in and undertake the investigations. As mentioned, the IG has given a statement. The minister, the cabinet secretary for Interior has also issued a statement. So it's important that we allow these independent bodies to do their work and then give us a report. I know a lot of times what happens is in our countries that we forget. So it's important that even the media can play a role in continuing to remind us of what happened and what is the outcome of whatever investigations it is that have taken place, so that we don't just let it slide under the carpet. Yeah, so I think the media should also keep agitating, and CCK can do the same, keep agitating that these investigations must take place, and then we can then come up with the outcome of whatever it is that happened. Because as I mentioned earlier, it's important that we begin to develop trust in certain institutions. As we go towards elections, if we don't trust the police force, if we don't trust the opposition, then whatever outcome it is of the elections, then it might be called into question. So we must begin to develop trust in these government agencies. So the government agencies themselves must also work and build trust with the citizens of the country. Yes.
And Reverend, just allow me to pick from where James has left in regards to more or less like the pulpit being seen as more or less just being handed over to politicians. Let's be very honest. How many times have we had politicians spew hate speech on the pulpit or in churches or just outside the church? How many times have we seen them, with some of these rhetorics that we have, the one term, the two terms, in church? So people argue, a section of Kenyans would argue that more or less as a church you have given them the authority to speak and spew hatred.
It's good to correct that mindset, but before that, following what he has just said, we will call upon them and them and us to be a little bit proactive. The statement that the Inspector General gave yesterday, he said that the regional commander for Central immediately directed Njue criminal investigation officer to investigate to begin investigations. The Inspector General of the National Police Service having been made aware of the incident. Now the question we are asking, they are supposed to be proactive. Before it happened, they are on the ground. They are supposed to have told us what really happened. Even before they are direct from Nairobi. Really? They owe their allegiance to us, to wananchi. Can we also be proactive? Let's not wait. Let's not prepare the country for war. When we do like this and allow this to happen, we are preparing a wrong stage for the future of our nation. How do you sit down so that we can prepare a wrong stage for the future of our nation? By not being proactive, not reacting quickly. Yes, we are glad that he gave the statement. But now this statement is coming too late. Of course, we asked for him to apologize. And not qualify the apology. Just say sorry, because we are asking this question. Kenyans, we are taught a statement sometimes that wajinga waliisha Kenya, which we all agree. That most people are critical looking. Even when I'm preaching in the pulpit, you have just asked a question. What happened in the 1990s? 1990s and today, they are two different stages altogether. Yeah. If you look at the IT and what has happened in the community, it's completely different. When they are in the office right now, those who are there, the challenges they are facing is not the challenges that were there those days. Our challenges that we are dealing with, young speakers, young preachers, they also know what, before we speak, we also are careful what we are talking about. We know what is this, because we are dealing with our own children who are also smart and they know where they are heading to. So, the pulpit, have we given the pulpit for the politicians? No. That concept, that narrative, it is not a true narrative, because in the church there is what we call organized church and there is the unorganized church. There is the organized church and unorganized church. Things come up from unorganized church where individual friendship will happen and you see somebody has been given a pulpit and then he happened to say something, then it's called the church has said. Really, the organized church works through structures. And for sure within our liturgies, within our structure of worship in Sundays, especially to our member churches in the National Council of Churches, we have liturgies. In those liturgies, there is no space that says, let the politician come and speak. It is out of the courtesy. It's out of the respect, because they are our brothers. Some of them are our worshippers. Some of them, they are part and parcel. They participate in church life. So you happen to give this person opportunity and they happen to spill some issues. Then you realize, oh my God, we have messed. That does not mean that's the standard of the church. That's not the standard of the church. The standard of the church is that I am the parish minister and the minister speaks on behalf of the church, present people to God. God speaks to us as we speak to him, not the politician. Many years ago, we had a stage with our old father and our old grandfather, Moi. I think Moi used to try. What he used to do, after you finish, when we are here at All Family Basilica, when we finish the service, he will move out of the church, then address the congregation. We are crying that we go back to that situation. But who is the problem? Is that you people are also tricky, because when you are a politician, you come and look at the pastor, I'm your friend, I respect you, and you tell Pastor, can I say hi to the congregation? And then you spew what you wanted. Then it is said, oh, the church has said. The church has a stand. We don't give pulpits to politicians to throw insult to one another. We are there for worship, not for this kind of gimmick. Even those in Odaya, I'm sure they went for worship. Whatever, if they went with another mindset, we are not aware. But in the Anglican liturgy, if you look at the worship of the Anglican, there was no space for them too. But they are members of the church. They can worship with us, join us in church life like anybody else. So let's have that demarcation. Let's have separation. We know that, okay, whereas they are here, we are separate. There are a number of things have come up as number of things. Has the church allowed this? Has the church allowed this? Has the church allowed this? The other day we had questions of miracles. What's the church talk about it? That one we can talk about
It's
later.
a good thing that you've brought that up, because we're going to look at the rot in the church as well and how to get rid of it. But allow me to just pick from where you've left and ask James. Let's go to the tag that National Cohesion and Integration have had, toothless dog. You've had it. And I'm quite sure it's something that, you know, resonate a lot with a lot of Kenyans. Practical example. Daktari there has said it's not even the first, the second, the third, or even the 10th time that this has happened. Away from that, I do remember a practical cases where during the by-elections in Narok, you know, where the former deputy president and, you know, stones were hurled, you know, it was all chaotic. When it comes to hate speech, we've seen a number of politicians, including governors, do appear at the NCIC, but unfortunately after that we have never heard of any prosecution or jail term for somebody who has, you know, has been spewing hate speech in the country. What exactly are you doing? Because at the end of the day, Kenyans deserve to hear where the taxes are going.
Yes, thank you, Njue. So the tag toothless dog for NCIC, maybe it's been said as an insult, but it is that is the case. So depending on what you define as teeth. If Kenyans if Kenyans defined teeth as prosecution powers, then we don't have those teeth. We don't have the power to prosecute. And that is just a creation of the NCI Act. We're a creature of statute, and the Act gives us certain mandates, and we can only work within those mandates. So prosecution is not one of the mandates of the NCIC. Prosecution is left to the ODPP. So as the NCIC, all that we are allowed to do by the law is to carry out investigations. Once we complete our investigations, then we forward the file to the ODPP for their recommendations, whether it's prosecution or otherwise. So that is what is within our power.
Just a practical example, James, when it comes to the several church attacks that we have seen, have you forwarded any files to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution?
Those church attacks might not amount to hate speech. So that probably is not within our mandate. Yeah, so we will not probably have sent any files to ODPP because that's not within our mandate. But things that are within our mandate and we carry out investigations will then forward the file to the ODPP. Now, one of the challenges that we have within our legislation is something called conciliation. And our Act makes it mandatory that before we forward any file for prosecution to the ODPP, we must carry out what is known as conciliation. That is an alternative dispute resolution mechanism. That is what we are empowered to do. That is the first port of call for the NCIC. That's why many times you said you'll see politicians come before NCIC and then you hear nothing, because we do what is called conciliation. They may probably issue a public apology, do certain maybe community service, and it ends there, because that is what the Act requires of us.
But that would be more or less like a slap on the hand.
That might be it, but that is what the Act requires. Because
some of this hate speech, sometimes it spews and, you know, people are killed in regards to that.
Unfortunately, that is what the Act requires. And so we cannot go outside the Act. However, if as you mentioned, that the hate speech is going to lead to deaths and destruction of property, then the ODPP has a mandate to prosecute. The fight against hate speech is not a one agency affair. Yeah, we carry out this in conjunction with quite a number of other agencies. If, for example, something is aired on media or on social media, we work with the Communication Authority of Kenya. If we work with the DCI, we work with the Media Council of Kenya. We work with the ODPP. Yeah. So there are quite a number of other agencies that are involved in the fight against hate speech, and we all must work hand in hand. Yeah. So it's not a one, when you blame NCIC on its own, there could be some truth to it, but it's a bit unfair. We work hand in hand with other agencies, and especially the ODPP, who are in charge of prosecution.
And because the files that are in your purview, have you had any prosecution for hate speech?
There's a current case in court. Probably can't talk too much about it, but the MP for Mumias East, Peter Salasi, is currently under prosecution for hate speech. We've had a number of convictions. A few years back, there was a gentleman, a student by the name of Alan Wadi, who was convicted of hate speech. There was a gentleman in Bungoma. There's a gentleman, Ian Wambua, who has been convicted of hate speech. So there have been convictions. Of course, they're not the big fish as the public would want to see.
Yes.
But there have been successful prosecutions and convictions for the offences of hate speech.
Yeah, because it beats logic sometimes when you find somebody post something, a photo on X or on TikTok, and then, you know, we see him in court. But unfortunately, even the silent, because let's be very honest, there's something for whatever happened on Sunday. There must be some people who sat down and planned all this, because you don't see gunshots on the windows of churches, on the walls of churches. You don't see tear gas in places of worship. So this is something that was choreographed. But unfortunately, those guys, the silent, allow me to call them the silent crooks, because they plan all this, but you'll never see them, you'll never hear of them. Is it becoming difficult to get some of these people?
Investigations generally are becoming more challenging, especially what you mentioned, the issues of social media. Yeah. You have people who are using pseudonyms. So that's not the real name I use on my social media accounts, and then I post hate speech or negative rhetoric. So we are able to track you down. Or you're outside the jurisdiction of Kenya. You might be in Sweden and you're posting things that are relevant to Kenya about hate speech. So those are some of the challenges that come with investigations generally. So similarly to what you've mentioned about Sunday, yes, it would be challenging to investigate, but I believe that the relevant agencies, whether it's the DCI, the police force, NIS, they have the manpower and the know-how, and let's give them opportunity to carry out investigations and issue a report to the public.
Allow me to ask him a question, my friend here. Yes, we are talking of people like Salasia. Before you talk about Salasia, there are these two big fish who will stand and accuse or abuse one another in the public before the children. And the following day he's free, nothing is happening. Even for these people to get where this drama is happening or there. Before that, we have had these individuals abusing one another in the public. This, a big fish, and fish starts rotting from the head. This big fish will abuse. And then you do nothing. You don't talk about it. Now, before it begins also, do you have your systems on the ground? Because on the ground we say anything, we abuse one another. Do you pick us from the ground to help you with the information? Or what can you pick me from my house? Investigate me. Take me to court so that we know that you are serious. Because we are also blaming you. We are saying, really, even before that, those abuse, if the two big fish are abusing one another on top of there, do you have powers to call me and you are a big fish and you're abusing another big fish? Or we just sit and laugh as if you don't exist?
There are some who I think I've seen, with fairness, I've seen a number of summons, but I think where the rubber meets the road is where now it gets to prosecution, where now your powers now, from there, your jurisdiction is up.
Yes, thank you, Reverend. I think it's important that we do a distinction between what is abuse and hate speech. Abuse does not equate to hate speech. Now, hate speech occurs when you utter threatening, abusive, or insulting words with the intention to stir up ethnic hatred. So if the intention of not stirring up ethnic hatred, if that is not present, then it's not hate speech. So there are two limbs to the offense. There's the act, threatening, abusive words, and then there's the intention to stir up ethnic hatred. So if that intention is missing, then the offense of hate speech has not occurred. So yes, leaders will abuse each other. It's probably against Chapter 6, leadership and integrity. But that, again, is within the mandate of a different body. It's not within the mandate of NCIC. Yeah, so yes, you'll have leaders abuse each other. But as NCIC, we must act within the law. We must act within the NCI Act. So we cannot prosecute you for abusing somebody. Perhaps that becomes a civil matter. Somebody can be sued for defamation and things like that. And as you mentioned, Njue, our hands are tied when it comes to prosecution. Yeah, once we carry out investigations, then we will forward the file to the ODPP. They will review it and then make a recommendation whether the evidence we've collected is sufficient or it's not sufficient, and then make a decision.
Of course, you'll be telling us how you think we should do, because if you're given all these powers, you draw your funds from the public coffers, you also should be having some prosecution powers. But before then, Reverend, I'm looking at more or less like uniformities in the churches and the places of worship. When the government announced plans to regulate churches, all the churches came together, they ganged up and said, we are opposed to ABCD. When it came to, politicians being given a mic or given an opportunity to speak at the church, Dr. Sapit was one of the people who mentioned that when it comes to ACK churches, we're not going to do that. You do remember what we saw at AIPCA. That whatever happened that day has more or less, we are incubating a problem. Why don't you come up with a uniform stand where you say that when it comes to politicians and politics, if you want to come to church, you come, you pray. If you want to speak to your people, look for somewhere, either it's a church ground, it's a school ground, whether it's a stadium, go and do your politics there. Don't you think this would try,
yes,
if not,
it will.
have this?
Let me start by correcting this notion. Is the church said no to regulation? You are aware, or you are not aware, that I was a member of that task force that was formed by the head of state to regulation, to come up with a structure, with a way to organize religious operation in the country, so that all of us can live together with peace, love, and unity. And so we did that work, me and the rest, Mutaba Musima and the rest, we did that work up to where it was. And in that particular commission, task force, a number of us religious people were there. And so we cannot stand here and say that all religions have said no. I think it's a misguiding kind of notion. What we need to do, what we need to say is that there are issues in that bill you will want to correct, I'll want to correct, but the standard is we went around the country. Sometimes we throw stones and say as if he's a head of state who is doing that. It's not about the head of state. He called a number of us. He picked all of us from different umbrella bodies and from different leadership and a number of philosophers, religious philosophers. We came up with a structure, what we thought. And then Mukatana came up with other issues which we said, no, we don't want that. So to us where we are right now is that we are looking at that bill and there are things that different people think they are not worth it. I think what we'll say is that there are things we don't agree and there are things we agree, but in one way or the other, there should be a way to organize, to have order, to do the right thing. Regulation or regulating spirituality or regulating the scripture, that's not there. But there must be a way to have order on how to do religion and do it well without hurting others. And that's why it was about regulation of extremism, try to avoid extremism, try to avoid Shakahola issues. As human beings, there must come a time when we shall say, no, enough is enough. Let's have a system, a working structure, either from us or from the state. But I don't think the state need to do that. We as religious leaders ourselves, we need to do that. Now, back to the question. Is it right for you to come with a particular order? Yes. We as NCCK, we have come up with different structures. We have written to all our church denomination members and told them this is what to do. We sit together. NCCK, we speak as a voice, but it's a voice of many of us. The statement that was released the other day, after a number of us discussed, then we say, okay, Chair, can you speak into this? National Chair, can you speak into this? Because we all agree this is the way. So do we have an order? Yes. Have we given instruction on what happens on Sundays? Yes. Within our system, we have said no. The politician, this is how far a politician can go. But politician as a member, he has a right to worship. But when it comes to abuse, when it comes to doing some of the things that they need to investigate us, should not be done in the church. So we have an order. But again, I have said once, not twice, the church is not a museum of saints. It's a school of sinners. And when children are in school, some of them make mistakes. When they make mistakes, it should not be fully be said, oh, the church has said it. It's not a museum of saints. It's a school of sinners. It's a hospital of sinners.
But for the interest and for we all love Kenya. I'm quite sure with your umbrella bodies, you can, have a stand that whichever denomination, whichever the church, there will be no politicians on the pulpit. I think that would be, because you find that some churches are allowing this, some are not.
We have had that. That's why I said in the church, there is what we call organized church, and there is church individuals. All of us, we are part and parcel of the church. If he wakes up in the morning and he set up his church, which the law allows him to, it's freedom of worship, and then he happened to have 2 of his friends come and throw insult to others, that should not be taken that the whole church has spoken. Unless you belong to umbrella bodies like KCCB, Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops. When one of them speaks, he speaks on behalf of the church. NCCK, where some of us officials and our chair and the rest of us, or our Secretary General speaks, he speaks after we have concluded together and said, this is the way. And so with organized church, we have structures, we have agreed, this is how to go about it every Sunday. This is how to handle it. This is what we need to do from the grassroots up. That's why I want to ask my friend, when somebody will start in the pulpit and say, so and so is a thief, so and so did 1, 2, 3, and nothing happens to him, and that so and so has children, so and so has family members, is that not an incitement? Is that not inciting the community? Especially when you're abusing. Okay, we are all equal in the eyes of God. But with your status in the community, when you say, oh, you killed the children, oh, you did and did. Our friends here, is there a way for you to bring me in and say, no, you can't do this, it's wrong. We do the preaching, we do pray. But changing the heart is for God himself.
Yeah, it's still on the same, just to add on what he's saying. You did say that your mandate falls squarely in regards to speeches that may cause maybe tribalism and hate speech. Let's go back to the previous cycle of election where we had the hustlers and the dynasties. Trust me, that narrative is not even right when it comes to matters tribalism and cohesion of the country. NCIC didn't do nothing. From there, go back to now. Now you will find this 2027? Yes, 2027 will be another narrative. 2032 will be having another narrative. But we did have the hustler and dynasty, and all Kenyans can attest to that. But nothing was done. We have seen the power of the word, the power of human words. We have seen what it's able to do. Case in point in 2007. We didn't expect that. We didn't, we were not incubating a problem like we are doing right now. The results of the election are the ones that triggered that. As NCIC, what exactly are you doing to ensure that not only are we looking out for people who are spewing hatred, but we remain cohesive as a nation?
Yes, thank you, Njue. So I'm probably speak with the things we've started doing at the moment. Yeah. So as I mentioned, it's probably difficult for one institution to ensure that elections are delivered peacefully. So we're beginning to have partnerships. We're partnering with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, partnering with the IEBC, we're partnering with other agencies that are involved in the electoral system, so that we all work together with ensuring that we deliver a peaceful elections. This week, there are a number of documents that the NCIC is rolling out. One of them is social media monitoring guidelines. So we've noticed that a lot of mobilization, a lot of hate speech is occurring on social media. So we've developed certain guidelines that will assist agencies that are monitoring social media on how to collect relevant evidence, that the evidence is not disputed in court. So that is one of the things that we're doing as we head towards the elections. We've also relaunched the Kenya National Action Plan on Hate Speech. So this document has responsibilities for a number of actors who are involved in the country. As I said, not one institution can fight hate speech, not one institution can ensure peaceful elections. So we've identified different bodies and what their responsibility is towards the fight against hate speech. Now, when we go back to the previous election, there are a number of words that NCIC had flagged. Haptupangwingwi, I think Harshland. So NCIC did something. We flagged a number of words that were being used then to campaign, and said that these words, depending on how they're used, then they could amount to hate speech. But somebody went to court, and that was declared unconstitutional. Yeah. So we do take certain actions. The court allowed
the Pangwingwi and everything.
Yes, that document was declared unconstitutional by the courts. So the actions that NCIC does take, but I said we must all act within the framework of the law. Yeah, so we'll do what the law allows us to do, and then let other bodies also assist us. NCCK should also definitely assist us. As you mentioned, where do we draw the line when you allow politicians to come on the pulpit and issue hate speech? He's mentioned disorganized churches. So I think there must be some form of regulation of these disorganized churches that will be able to tame any politician who wants to go and spew hate speech or insults in these churches on the pulpit.
Yeah, and of course the one term and the two term, I think those two words also needs to be scrutinized by NCIC, because you do remember Hatupangwingwi just seems like a very innocent Swahili word, but if you look at it politically.
Yes. Now, when you look at the different words that we use, even madoadoa, on the face of it, madoadoa is a very innocent word. It spots, but in the context with which it is used, then it develops into hate speech. So all those terms and terminology keeps changing. Language is fluid. We have slang, we have sheng, that keeps changing. So as NCIC, we must always also keep our eye ear on the ground to see what is changing in society, what different words are being used, and how are they being used if they can amount to hate speech. So when the words one term or two term, depending on the context, depending on the speaker, depending on the audience in which it is used, it could either amount to hate speech. But as I said, you must look at the entire context. Who is the speaker? Who is the audience? When is this happening? So all those circumstances are what would then determine whether this amounts to hate speech or not. So just saying that one term or two term is hate speech, or hustler or dynasty is hate speech, it would be a bit unfair. We have to look at the context in which those words are going to be used. Yes.
Reverend, picking from where James has left in regards to what we are hearing out there and what really needs to be identified as hate speech. Of course, there are politicians and there are some religious institutions who do any of your members allow politicians to speak at the pulpit?
If you belong to the National Council of Churches of Kenya, you are under that umbrella. We say, if you do that, we'll call you as a brother and ask you some question. But where he has started, I think I agree with him that we need to have content, context, and circumstances. But they are supposed to do better, because every day they need to have a team, a philosophical team that will always look at the content, context, circumstances, because somebody begins something like one term, then it becomes one term, and then it's consumed by both intelligent and those who are not, and all of us consume it, and now we use it when we want and how we want. Is it possible just to cut it off, so long as it's being misinterpreted? When you look at when we go to the content, I take it now, when they started one term, the definition of content, context, circumstance now becomes me, while it is you to decide. So please, you need to help us. My question, is it possible that we say no? Do we have a structure? Yes, we have a structure to say no. Have we done it? Yes, we have done it several times. But what I mean by the church organized and the church independent is that we have independent individuals who have started churches, and it is part of the law. It's within our laws that you can register church. So we might not have a law to hold on them. And that is why we were saying, when we went around the country on this paper that's right now in Parliament, there's a bill now. In that bill, a number of religious people, those that came to participate, when we were interviewing, they said, yes, we want to have a structure. We want to be organized. How? Through self-regulation. How? Through umbrella bodies. We formulate a kind of discipline ourselves. We can discipline ourselves through Evangelical Churches of Kenya. We can discipline ourselves through NCCK. We can discipline ourselves through KCCB, Kenya Council Conference, or OIC. That's Africa Organization for African Independent Churches. And then we are able to get some information, ask ourselves now, what do we do? So is it possible to organize ourselves? We need to recommend that we do that. As we go with content and context again, content, context, and circumstance, there are times we say, oh, we don't need to be regulated. We don't need to be regulated. In what context? In what context? We need a kind of structure. That is why I am a Presbyterian. In the Presbyterian, there are things I can't do, because I have taken vows that this is how far I can go. There's a way, there's what we call a practice and procedure, what we do and how we do it. And this is what we are saying, all of us, as senior ministers. Let's have a kind of procedure. Let's have a system, and let's agree. So whereas we say, let the government not regulate us, nobody wants the government regulate us. You cannot regulate the spirit, yes, I know, but order is just paramount, which some of us have.
Yeah. James, I would ask NCIC to fasten its seatbelt for the 2027 election, because it's going to be bumpy more than 2022. And this is the reason. We are having, we have seen a number of Kenyans, you know, appear in court because of spewing hate speech, you know. And we, just like you've mentioned, you have an MP that you're keeping your eyes peeled for. And we are in the era of, you know, social media usage and deepfakes. I've seen a number, me included, of deepfakes for news anchors from all over the world. How are you preparing as NCIC? Because some of this hate speech could be AI or deepfake.
Yes, we definitely need to fasten our seatbelt, not just NCIC, but the entire country. I think history has proven that any time that an incumbent is defending his seat in elections in Kenya, there is always violence. So we definitely, as all agencies that were involved in elections, have to fasten our seatbelt, including NCIC. As I mentioned, we are developed and we are rolling out what we call social media monitoring guidelines, which will assist agencies who are carrying out monitoring of social media to collect the relevant evidence, and then that will help us in fighting hate speech. But yes, AI, artificial intelligence, is a very big threat to peace and cohesion in this country. I think about maybe 2-3 weeks ago on X, the AI that is on X was able to generate certain images. Grok was generating sexual images of people without their consent. And I think a number of countries have come in and are now beginning to ensure that they regulate, you know, like Grok and AI. So we definitely also, as a country, have to be alert to the dangers that AI poses. Yes, there's a lot of potential and good things that AI brings about, but there's a lot of danger as well. As you mentioned, deep fakes. You can generate voices, images, and that will be a big challenge to the forthcoming elections. So as NCIC, at least we are already alert as to that. We are working with different agencies. I mentioned work with the Communications Authority of Kenya, the Ministry of ICT, so that we are alert that these things could happen. And what we can do is to offer counter messages, counter narratives as to what is actually the truth. You know, we can fact check things. You know, when somebody has a statement out there on social media that is false, then we can arm citizens to be able to tell people this is fake and this is the correct position. So citizens also have to play their role in fact checking and calling out things that are fake. Yeah, as citizens, we just can't sit back and wait for our agencies to work for us. Yeah. As you mentioned, the country belongs to all of us. Yeah, if it's not that the agencies that will suffer in case elections are disputed and there's violence, we will all suffer. So we all have a role to play in ensuring that elections are held peacefully and credibly.
And before we take a quick break, Daktari, I would like you to mention something in regards to, just like James has mentioned, and you rightly observed that it's a multi-sectoral approach when it comes to matters like security. And a practical example is what happened on Sunday in Othaya. The reason I ask this is because, of course, we have the county security team, we have the National Police Service, we have the National Intelligence Service as well. But we have seen more than 10 incidences of attacks in churches. Do you believe somebody is sleeping on his job, and what do you believe should be done?
First of all, working together. How do you deal with this problem? We deal with it by working together. For them, the DCI and the rest of us, to understand that we are serving the same Kenyan. We are serving our children. When it happens, it's not about them, it's about all of us. Yeah. Even when we say, oh, please, DCI, you must do something, DCI, resign, we are not saying because we hate him or her. What we are saying is that, can you talk to us? For sure, all these things like what happened in Othaya, as we are saying, you will really be pushing our mind or pulling our mind or stretching our mind to tell us that before that day, nobody knew about it. If possible, in that church, somebody must have had an idea. The same church, if you went on the ground there, And if the DCI were part and parcel of that, they would have gotten that information. And not only that, you'll be pulling our mind to tell us, I normally say, there was somebody, the former deputy president, who is in Kenya. He's a Kenyan like all of us. And so to tell us that he organized that, what time, how, where was he standing? If he did it, he was supposed to be picked early and be taken to court. You can notice that he organized that when he's, so you're also pulling our mind too far. Now, if you did it from the other side, why did you do it? Those are the questions. If you say it's the government who? If you say it's him, who is he? He's a Kenyan like me. There is structures. We have one government working, and that government must work with them, pick up, and just get somebody in court.
All right, we are looking at church and politics, and especially in the wake of what happened or transpired in Odaya on Sunday. And I'm joined by Dr. Reverend Alphonse Kanga, who is the NCCK Regional Chair, and James Wanyande, who is the Director of Investigations at NCIC. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This isn't your business, and it's an arduous journey.
Medical supplies is a crucial task. The faster we can fetch them, the better.
You're the most experienced in disaster rescue. When we get there, we'll all follow your lead.
Yes.
Do you think this can block a bullet?
Dr. Pub, did you fail physics? You're expecting that to block a bullet?
That's true.
They're running out. We might not even have enough for tomorrow.
So, have you read Love in the Time of Cholera? Think we look like that now?
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
Friday night again. Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
Very well, thank you indeed so much for keeping it Channel 1. And of course, remember, we're also live on our social media spaces for comments, suggestions, or even where you are watching us from. Of course, I have Reverend Dr. Alphonse Kanga, who is the NCCK Regional Chair, and also James Wanyande, who is the Director Investigations at the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC. And for the next maybe like 10 minutes or so, we'll be wrapping up this conversation and delve into matters, the national situation that we have that is tricky, that is when it comes to the drought that we have. We'll be talking about that and to know exactly what is the situation. We'll be looking at that a bit later. But before then, allow us to also look into how we 19 months to the general election, and we don't want to go back to what we were having in 2007. And let's be honest, from what we've had, politicians, from the pulpits, from what do we call them, rallies on the roads, on top of vehicles, how is NCIC prepared this time round? Quite different from what we have seen previously.
There are quite a number of interventions that NCIC is going to work on as we head towards elections. As I mentioned, the issues of trust. Trust is one of the biggest issues towards an election. If you don't trust the electoral management body, if you don't trust the police force, then you'll call into question the results of the election. If you don't trust NCIC in itself, then you'll call out whatever it is that NCIC does. So we're trying to have conversations with the public, have dialogue with the public, so that we can build trust between the public and NCIC. As I mentioned earlier, we have launched a number of documents that are aimed towards management of hate speech. The social media monitoring guidelines, the National Action Plan Against Hate Speech. Those are some of the documents we launched. As NCIC, we've been holding, in conjunction with KBC actually, what we've known as transgenerational conversations. Following the protests of Gen Zs in 2004, we started having conversations with different age groups in the country. We've held them in 6 counties. So we are telling all generations that they do have something to offer to the country, and let's have conversations about that. So that's one of the other things that we're doing. But I think also it's important that also citizens also play their part. We must reject the negative rhetoric that politicians are spewing. We must call for issue-based politics. As a country, we are faced with quite a number of challenges, and we can't be happy with insults, as Reverend has mentioned, being what is the fodder for our elections. Or politicians and politics must be issue-based. We must call for proper governance in the country. That is what will lead us forward. The president wants us to be Singapore, as he says. But it's not just infrastructure that will get us there. Even the software of the citizens must be right. So those are the things that we must hold to high regard as a country, as citizens. We must call for issue-based politics and things that will actually affect our lives, and not insults by politicians. So that we must reject that.
And Reverend, you did observe very keenly that indeed the church is. It doesn't have all the saints, it's a school of sinners. You can't lock the door for anyone, including politicians, but something has to give, because we are talking about more than 10 attacks in churches, or 10 attacks that because of what political intolerance. What needs to give when it comes to the church?
Number one, we are saying no, that should not continue. Number two, we need to get involved in community education to educate our society, plus our politicians, what we need to do, how this is going to affect them. Just as I said before, what's happening now, we are setting a stage for destruction for our nation, 2027. The church is the only holy place, is the only quiet place, a place of peace. When you walk there, you know you have come from your place of work, or you have been insulted and things are not working. You are going to church so that you get healing. You are going to get healing of the mind. You are going to get the quiet, the peace that surpasses all understanding. That's why you go to church. If things are not working in church, if you are tear gassed in the church, you are tear gassed in the office, then we are going to something you cannot explain at all. But what are we doing? Number one, We are involved in shadow diplomacy discussions with these individuals, whether politician are part of our members, whether high or low, they are all, from the top bottom, we all part and parcel of the church. And so as a church, we are involved in shadow diplomacy discussions with them as individuals and their families to make sure that they hold on, they think critically on what they are saying. A thing that they have done wrong, we tell them it's not right. Of course, we can't tell them in the public. We need to take care of their image. As we take care of their image, we are involved in that so that we can have a mindset discussion. Let's have a mindset discussion as we head to a mindset change as we head to 2027, so that we cannot just stick where we were as a Pangingwi. At Pangingwi is not going to help us, but we need a mindset change. You are talking of Singapore. Singapore is not just a place, it should be a mindset. As he has said, we begin from the software to change our minds and get a winning attitude. If you are going to Singapore, what is Singapore? Is Singapore just a space? To me, Singapore is a mindset. There's a place I'm heading to. I'm not even saying I'm going to Singapore. I might say I'm going to US. They have their own problems. But there are issues we admire from Singapore, issues we admire from US, from the so-called first world. From the so-called first world, there are things we admire from them. How do we get there? We get there by change of mind, attitude change, a winning attitude. And we have what it requires. The only thing we need to do is to stick to chapter 6.
Integrity.
Yeah.
James, as we wrap up, I would like you to mention what exactly needs to give to allow NCIC have prosecutorial powers or the teeth to bite. Because at the end of the day, if you are having at about 3,000 cases that are under investigations, but yet at the end of the day, Kenyans don't see people behind bars or people fined for that, or only bloggers, Kenyans will still be icked by that.
So you can look at it in two lenses. First of all, we have checks and balances. So if you give NCIC the power to prosecute, there's a feeling that that power may be abused, that we may now use it to harass different politicians. So I think it's important that we have issues of checks and balances. So each institution therefore can play its role. But there are other avenues or powers that NCIC can be given. For example, if we are allowed in conjunction with EACC and these are the agencies to carry out vetting of politicians or people who want either appointive or elective posts. If you can give us that power in conjunction with the EACC, then that probably can play a role in terms of taming a lot of this political and negative rhetoric. So we don't necessarily have to get prosecution powers. Let that lie with the different agencies, that we can respect the principles of checks and balances. Yes.
As we wrap up, your final words, Doctor.
Just as I've said, please, we have only one Kenya, and it's our home, it's our motherland. And let justice be our shield and defender. All these things are happening due to lack of injustice. Let justice be our shield and defender as we move forward. And then we in the religious space, let's play our role. Okay? Something you had just asked me a few seconds ago as I finished, is that the church believes in the healing. But there's a difference between healing and curing. The church believes in the healing. The scripture has a lot of healing. And so when we talk of miracles, miracles come from God. And the church believes in healing. And so all those things come together, all comes together for the betterment of mankind. So when we go to church with a lot of strength, with the belief that God is going to heal. Healing, spiritual healing means you can have cancer. We don't have a cure, but your mind is settled. You have spiritual peace and understanding that you can live and push your days forward. We pray for that healing. And then the scientists do the curing, get the medication. We give the right medication. And then the healing, the peace that surpasses all understanding, even in all these things, we get it from God. That's the definition I give.
Thank you. That has been Reverend Dr. Alphonse Kanga, who is the NCCK Regional Chair. And just next to him, we have James Wanyande, who is the Director of Investigations at the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC. Many thanks indeed, gentlemen, for making time and also for your insight, your perspective. This is a conversation that we will be looking very keenly in the wake of the 2027 general polls. Not just 19 months, and as these two gentlemen said, we need to tolerate each other, and especially when it comes to our political inclination. Many thanks indeed for joining us for that first hour. When we come back, we will be looking at the drought situation in Kenya, and especially in the northeastern part of Kenya. That discussion coming up.
Elijah Wasike Mongale was born in Matili in what was then Bungoma district, 1938. His father was a church elder who valued education and discipline. He began his education at Chesamisi Primary School. At intermediate level, dissatisfied with the school, Mongale briefly crossed into Uganda to continue his studies before returning home. He was later enrolled in a school in Mombasa, where he developed an interest in agriculture. That interest led him to Egerton College near Nakuru, where he pursued a diploma in agriculture. Mongale was among 3 students who received sponsorship to pursue degree studies at Virginia University in the US, on condition they would return to teach at Egerton. While in the US, Mongale obtained both bachelor's and master's degrees. On returning to Kenya, he taught at Egerton College, later entered politics. Mongale rose to national prominence as the Member of Parliament for Bungoma East during Jomo Kenyatta's presidency. In Parliament, he was outspoken and frequently critical of government, often clashing with then Vice President Daniel Arap Moi. His political trajectory changed following the assassination of Josiah Mwangi Kariuki, popularly known as JM, whose body was found on Ngong Hills on 2nd March 1975. Parliament appointed an 11-member committee to investigate the killing. Mongale was named committee chair. The committee's report recommended that 2 senior state officials be investigated by police. When the committee was summoned to State House, 1 member remained behind with an original copy of the report. In Parliament, Mongale raised concerns that the report tabled differed from the committee's findings. Speaker Fred Mati ruled that the matter could be addressed during debate. However, amid fears of detention without trial, the debate never occurred. During voting, Vice President Moi, Attorney General Charles Jonjo and their allies urged members to note and not adopt the report. Despite this, Cabinet Minister Masinde Muliro and his assistant Peter Kibiso voted against the government. Both were dismissed the same day. Mongale moved the motion to adopt the report. From this episode, the nickname chairman became permanently associated with him. Following the 1979 general election, the first under Moi's presidency, Mongale was appointed Minister for Labour. He later served in the ministries of Tourism and Wildlife, Foreign Affairs and Agriculture. He emerged as the most influential cabinet minister from Luhya land after Moses Mudavadi and became a leading figure among the so-called Kanu hoax. After publicly discrediting the 1988 Mlolongo elections, Mongale was transferred to the Ministry of Agriculture, while Robert Ouko took over Foreign Affairs. The introduction of multi-party politics in 1992 marked the end of his political dominance. He lost the Bungoma East seat to Mukisa Kitui by a landslide. An attempt to revive his career through appointment as chairman of the Kenya Bureau of Standards was unsuccessful. Mongale died in 2004, aged 66. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet.
Very well, welcome back to KBC News Check, and many thanks for keeping me company. On the second hour, we are looking at the drought situation in the country. More than half of the counties in Kenya, the rains have failed. And the worst thing is that since 1981, many people had not been born, but since 1981, this is the worst drought, about 45 years we're talking about. And this time round, it's no different. The rains, the October rains did fail, and the situation is a bit tricky when it comes to the northern part of Kenya. What exactly is happening? The government talking about 6 billion shillings earmarked for ensuring that every Kenyan has something to eat. But what is the ground saying? Allow me now to very quickly rope in Professor Honorable Omar Mohammed. Mohammed is the immediate former Wajir South MP. Karibu sana mheshimiwa.
Asante sana ndugu yangu.
And to be honest, I did listen to my good friend, the CS Geoffrey Roko, yesterday talk about 6 billion has been earmarked for ensuring that counties that face installation, and especially in the northern region, which is a little bit hard hit, have enough to eat. What is the situation, especially in the northern part of Kenya, especially Wajir?
Thank you very much, my brother. The situation is quite dire. It is quite dire, and this is serious. I came back on Sunday from Garissa, and the circumstances that has led to this challenge now is lack of rain, because the rains have failed several years. It has not only failed this time. People are talking about October to December, but that is not when the rains have failed. If you can remember, the rains have failed in 2023. It has failed in and then there was the floods. And then that floods has swept everything, even the seeds of the grass in the bush and all that. And then eventually that has gone to a level where now there are not enough pasture. There is not enough water. The water has run off, down the water wheels and the likes. So looking at that, the situation is getting dire right now. Animals have started to die now, although some other counties are different to others. There are about 23 counties that are being said that are in critical situation. And more of that, there is the emergency situation of about 2-3 other counties, like Mandera and part of Turkana and Marsabit. It is getting serious towards Wajir now. And you see nomadic pastoralists move from one place to another in search of the pasture and the water. And the pasture and the water that they're looking for is not there anymore. And therefore, there's overcrowding that happens. That overcrowding with the hooves of the animals, it also makes it more serious even when rains come. So at this particular stage, to answer your question, is the situation is quite dire. It's getting serious.
I'm looking at what we are reporting as the media, what the government is reporting, and the real situation on the ground. What is needed urgently? Is it water? Is it food? Is it a combination of both? Is it medication?
Combination of all. And let me tell you this, there is a challenge that I come from the medical background, and what is going to happen now is malnutrition is almost beginning. And there are many circumstances where we will find that it is, God forbid, it's likely that many children will go in malnourishment. They may either die because of malnourishment, or they may become stunted growth. There's what we call stunted growth when vitamins and vital food nutrients are not there in food, or there is not enough food. There's stunted growth that does happen. The other cohort that may be even affected are the pregnant mothers and the likes. So because there's lack of milk, meat, and any other diet that they are used to, these communities, because those are the two major diets that they're used to. We give them relief for rice and beans. While it is important, the actual thing that gives very good iron is meat. Definitely, that's what we know. Of course, to some extent, beans cover, but that is not enough for a pregnant mother, or for a baby, or for a child.
Even a lactating mother.
Or a lactating mother, that is. So there will be not enough production of milk for the baby. So that is happening. The other thing that is happening is that the animals are dying, and therefore there is not enough stock to sell to go and buy vital medicines, for instance, or take anybody to medical facilities, or even mothers who want to, go and have their babies will not be able to even trek forward or travel. So these are some of the issues that are arising. The other thing that is arising is that with the cost of the drought, the travels of people is not going to be easy. Because they have to go and look after their, animals. They have to take the kids and the families to the village so that they can go and get something. There will be no further movements in terms of looking for pasture because there's nowhere where pasture is available or water. Therefore, these are some of the things that are arising right now and people are mentioning. So it's a combination of lack of water, combination of lack of pasture, combination of lack of food, and medicines, and then there is outbreak of diseases that does happen. Marasmus, kwashiorkor, all these are malnutrition-based diseases that happens to children. And so that is where we are right at this stage. We are towards that, let me say. And therefore, the situation is dire.
6 billion has been earmarked. You have been a member of parliament, and you have to appropriate for this money in parliament, and you know exactly what people want in Wajir. Is this money enough? And is it getting? You said you were in Wajir the day before yesterday.
No, I was in Garissa, so Garissa. Just close to Wajir, yes. On the border there.
Is that money, is that food, is that water getting to the right people?
You see, the 6 billion being talked about is not 6 billion that's been dispersed today. This is from August last year. We have to bear that in mind. And that 6 billion is not necessarily something that is, making a quick change. It is not a quick antidote of drought and famine and challenges of the sort. It is something that gradually provides. Transportation is included. Logistics are included, many other logistics, administrative costs, and all these other things are also included into that. While there is a trial that is happening, that's not going to be enough. For 23 counties that are in dire challenge, bear in mind, even transportation of that food takes days. It's not going to be happening overnight. And therefore, these are some of the things that we need to look at. Why are we having this challenge in this part of the country every year in, year out? Although since 1981 the drought has been, a bit better, but drought has been happening. Animals died in 2023. In 2018 animals died. In 2017 we were getting towards drought as well. So we don't need to look at the 6 billion as an antidote, an immediate antidote that can make a relief for communities. And it's a drop in the ocean, 6 billion. We want the government to put more efforts, to put more money, to put more boots on the ground in terms of assisting disasters like this. You see, preparedness is more important than firefighting. So you don't wait until your house is burnt. You learn to know where your exit is. You learn to, you plan for, what you can mitigate that fire and how you can put it off. Therefore, because of that, we need this government, a very able government I see, can do more efforts to ensure that these counties and communities are actually attended to. So that is where we are at this particular stage. So 6 billion is since August.
From what you say, it seems that it should be declared a national disaster, because what happens is that we will get more resources and we will refocus as a country our energies and our resources towards mitigating this drought.
Absolutely, it should be a national disaster. It should be called an emergency. It should be called an emergency as a national disaster, simply because we're not going to wait further because of the predictions. Look at the meteorological planning, meteorological predictions. You see, there is what we call mathematical modeling. In mathematical modeling, you calculate the temperatures of the past years and of the current ones that is going to be expected, the lack of rains, how it's going to go. You see, we know today if it doesn't rain, we know the temperature that's going to happen tomorrow if it doesn't rain as well. So we can predict that, saying that because of the moisture and the absorption, in the atmospheric absorption, in other words, is the thing that predictability brings about. And therefore, it's already predicted that we may not even get rain up to May. You see that? And how many months are those? How many weeks are those, in other words, if you can calculate in weeks terms? So that's almost half a year. Half a year lack of rain with that scorching sun. What do you expect? You expect more deaths of animals, you expect more malnourishment, you expect more, even bushfires may occur because of the heat. Let me give you a quick example of what's happening currently in Australia. There is a fire disaster that's happening as of this morning. The fires are being put off on farmers. Are losing, yes, wildfires. Animals are being lost. So what did the rest of the community do? Not the country, not the nation. What did the rest of the countries do? What did the rest of the population do? Or countrymen and women? They collected hay from the other side of the country. They collected hay free of charge. They collected food. They collected firefighting equipment. They took volunteers. Why is not that happening? I'll take you back in 2012. 2012, what happened was Kenyans for Kenyans. You remember that?
I do remember.
I was part of the people who got involved, and I got engaged. I brought 300 tons of food and medicines from Australia. I was a professor there. Yeah, I was a lecturer at the University of Sydney at the time. So before I reached to the level of professorship from there on. But what we did, we collected all this food stock and brought that. It's in records. It's in records. The data is available. So what we did is we collected and went into the bush. We volunteered. We took many students from Nairobi University, from Kenyatta University, from many places. Anyway, we took volunteers and we served these communities. And remember, the disaster was not as terrible as is looming right now, because since 1981 to date, the drought that is happening now did not happen. Therefore, in 2012, it was not as serious as today. And people are looking the other side. We need to get serious. And that is how, communities come together. So what I was only trying to infer is that the bushfires and the challenges and the droughts that's happening in Western Australia is being supported and mitigated and given assistance by the rest of the communities. So I want to challenge not only the government, I want to challenge other Kenyans to go and support such kind of droughts, and this is happening. There are farmers who have got lots of hay in their stocks. They can give us a volunteer. They can drop away that to support communities. But coming back to the government's role and responsibility, the government's roles and responsibility is to take care. Article 2, Article 3, Article 7, all these talks about the rights of the citizen, or the citizenry, in other words. And these are the basics for human support. The small Niagara money is not going to be enough. 6 billion will not be enough. Let's be frank. We need more than that. And we need boots on the ground. We need medicines. We need food. We need even medicines for the animals that are dying currently. We need vitamins. We need hay stocks. We want to be supporting community like that. I'll tell you more about the other mitigations that is important.
And indeed, that actually was supposed to be my next question, which is a silver bullet that does away with these issues. Because just like you've pointed out, the United Nations did a survey, and they discovered that the hottest 10 years in history have been the last 10 years.
Yes.
And the hottest year in history has been last year.
Yes.
So, and we cannot predict and say now we have to change everything and do ABCD. But we have the drought with us since 1981. Case in point is Wajir, and it's a good thing that you've mentioned you brought about 3 tons from Australia to try and mitigate 300. That 300 tons. I'm looking at a silver bullet in the form of water pans, dams. I did hear. Do you believe there is enough goodwill, even from leaders like you, to ensure that we are done away with this problem for good? Because let's be honest, if at all we continue with the handout, we won't be able to continue if we are having the hottest year each and every year.
Let me tell you, there is no silver bullet. There is no silver bullet for challenges like this, for dealing with drought. But what comes
dams, water ponds?
Let me come to the point. Dams and water ponds. Why do we rush when the drought is there? Why do we do them when the drought is there? Why don't we do them before the rains? Why don't we plan and mitigate for that? You see, there's what we call STAR, Strategic Toolkit, Assessment for Risks. Have you heard of that? I used that for WHO in Asia Pacific when I was working for the World Health Organization sometimes back in 2014, 2015, and also 2009, around those areas. So the disasters that used to happen there are tsunamis. The disasters that used to happen there are things to do with what we call tornadoes and the likes. So what we used to do is to plan for, in the medical field that is, we were not dealing with the other. So you deal with a number of things and plan for a number of things. So you use the toolkit that is called Strategic Toolkit Assessment for Risks. That is STAR. Now here you assess the risks of various things. It is not only about the issue of giving food alone. It is about even communication risks. It is about the communication on the ground that is happening to tell you that these are the number of villages that are in disaster. These are the number of villages that are more dire than the other villages. These are the villages that do not have boreholes close by or up to 20 or 30 kilometers away. And therefore trekking for it is also another challenge with the heat of the day. So you must have that strategic planning in the sense that you say, we are predicting in the next 5 years to have X number of droughts, X number of torrential rains, for example. We need to have water catchments, you see, water ponds and the likes. Do not run with water ponds when the drought is there, my friend. Where is the water you're going to put there? Why don't you use that money, first of all, to rescue others, to rescue population, to rescue babies, from malnutrition, to rescue, provide them food, provide them, milk, fortified milk, provide them, other nutritious foods, to lactating mothers and mothers that are pregnant. Give them to the elderly, even men who are elderly, you see, they need support. So provide that for now. We cannot use ponds as a band-aid, or a bandage as Kenyans call it, but band-aid is what is used as a term internationally. So you cannot use ponds and boreholes at that particular time. Of course, borehole is very important. You use it, you do it. You rather use more boreholes to start with. And
even
then
dams.
Dams and all that you organize in advance. You don't organize during the drought at that particular time. So there's mitigation of risks. Use ponds as mitigations of risks so that you have planned forward and say that there will be torrential rains. Now the expectation that when the land is dry and the sand has gone, there's a huge downpour that happens. And that huge downpour requires what? A place where that water can go in. So what you do is you don't wait during the drought at that particular time. If you have got a small amount of money change in your pocket and you want to travel home, suppose you feel like you want to have a cigarette somewhere. Will you first of all go for travel or you go for the cigarette first? So get yourself home first, isn't it? So let's get ourselves home. Let's save our children and needy. And then we do this and plan on a long-term basis. That's my position. Dams are very good, boreholes are very good, and all that. In fact, boreholes should be done more frequently at this particular time right now so that water is gotten straight away to closer to the village. But plan for these other bigger projects when you are almost getting through and you have saved a sufficient number of, or many people, many children.
Prof, you're a leader from the northeastern part of Kenya, and you know very well how scarce and how valuable water is. And we have seen issues where we have conflict because of the meager resources that we have.
Yes.
How has it been, especially now that we are really in the drought?
Look, the nomadic pastoralists are very resilient people. They know that today, if I put conflict on you and you have come to my village or village X that I live in, for instance, I know I'm going to need village Y tomorrow because it might rain on your side. And therefore, if I pinch you now, you will pinch me harder tomorrow because I have not allowed you onto this. So, first of all, they're quite resilient. These are communities that understand this, and they have lived on such circumstance for many, many years. Now, having said that, conflicts do occur. There are a few skirmishes, beatings and a few things of that sort. But it has not been to a situation where war occurs because of scarcity of water and pasture in that place. They are quite resilient, ideally. It would have been reported by the State Department of Security. I mean, they would have said that, there is risk for these conflicts and all that. While risks may occur, or challenges may occur, and conflicts may occur, it is limited. It is quite limited. And therefore, we have not seen a situation where people have taken arms and gone to fight over the meager amount of water and pasture. So it is not an issue that is over and above the animal death that's happening.
And owing to the distance, you can find a house 30 kilometers, 50 kilometers away.
Yes.
Owing to the logistical issues that, of course, are there in the northeastern part, very vast lands, is the help getting to where it should be getting to?
Let me say something. It is not yet Uhuru in northern Kenya. 80% of the landmass of Kenya are the northern region, including Turkana, Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, even Lamu. These are the northern region, you see. So let me be frank with you. If you are having 2,000 kilometers or 4,000 kilometers of tarmac road here, around here, and you have got none in the northern region, tell me about it.
You're talking about Wajir?
I'm talking about northern region, up to Mandera. I'm talking about. That's where I was born. I was born in Wajir. I was born in Habaswein. And my travel to get to Habaswein is a challenge.
But
I can't get there.
From Misiolo to Marsabit, at least
there is only one road that is there. In fact, that opened the northern corridor towards Ethiopia, and that was a borderline. That's an A1 class of road that was meant to link between nations. You understand now? Now, here, there is no even link to Somalia even. We would have even taken advantage of that particular aspect of it even. So even having said that, where is the bulk of the land? There's no tarmac. In Moyale and Marsabit and North Hor and the likes. I mean, you go interior, there is none. There is nothing. It's only one corridor of road that takes you from one border point to Isiolo. That takes you up to Nairobi, by the way. So you cannot talk about a single aspect of that. And in fact, people are talking about the road from Isiolo to Mandera. Very good idea. And it's a great thing that the president is doing that. And we acknowledge and applaud that he has actually tied his belt tight to ensure that that happens. But having said that, there is still more links required. Now, for instance, one border point, Dadaab, or Dif, or Elwak, or Takaba, or North Hor, will not be having tarmacs. You understand? So, to link up any other place. And therefore, still, we will not be able to be having that communication links out there. Now, you send 10 trucks of food for emergency. And what is emergency? Is an immediate requirement, isn't it? For support. An ambulance cannot go from Garissa to go up to Dadaab easily. Cannot go from Wajir town to Dif easily, or Gerile, or Korof Harar, or anywhere else. You understand? Cannot leave Mandera to Elwak easily. So why are we going to say that we're going to satisfy we're going to give emergency relief to people. It's not an emergency relief. It's a relief, yes, but not emergency because it will not appear on time. And therefore, what I'm only trying to say is some of these challenges that we have are infrastructures, transportation and roads. That is not there. However much we talk about the droughts and its mitigation and the likes, it is historical. It's pre-colonial. It's post-colonial period. These are some of the things. You see, Julius Nyerere one time said, the late Julius Nyerere, the former president of Tanzania, and I always use this quote. I like this quote. He had his socialist issues and the likes, but I'm not going there as a politician up to that. But one thing I liked, he said, while the rest of the world have gone to the moon and returned, we are unable to reach the village. And if we do, we may never return. You know what that means? What that means is the rest of the world have gone to the moon and came back. You know, the Apollo and the likes. When they have gone there and returned, we are unable to get to the village. But if we even get there, we may not return back because the roads are so bad that your vehicle's tires and everything is gone. Or you may be stuck in mud, in the sand, and you may never come back. So that quote is very important for us to know. And when did he say this? In early 70s. This is what he was talking about. This is about 50, 60 years ago is what he said. Let alone us having a satellite in the moon ourselves, we cannot get to the village of Div, of Kor of Adrar, of North Hor. We cannot get to those villages. So, and that is Kenya for you, by the way. When others are having 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 tarmac roads, just around. So tell me about that.
And how is the situation of education? Because you'll find even kids are, helping their parents to go and search for water. How is the education standard, especially now that the drought has really crunched?
I am an academic, coming from medical background, but still an academic. And I feel very much for the children of today in the northern region. The children of today do not have what it takes to compete with the rest of the world. Yet we see them coming out with flying colors to some extent. Resilience is the key word. They're quite resilient. These are people that were born resilient. They were born in harsh climates. They are born in circumstances where, they have to deal with terrains, they have to deal with terror, they have to deal with, lack of teachers and resources, educational resources and the likes. Therefore, these are children that are resilient. They are lacking their time in school. They are lacking their time in growing as children, as having sufficient amount of time and opportunities to play. Just play, not even going to school only. Play is part of their growth. And therefore, these are the generation that are quite unlucky in the northern region. Therefore, I see that that is a circumstance that is there. What we need to do is to ensure that we have provided for the rest of it. Schools don't have electricity. That's the other thing I wanted to say. Transport, electricity, that's communication. Transport, electricity, other communication, like even telephone communications. There are many places that do not have telecom communication towers. And therefore, there is this challenge that is compounded, that has resulted in the lagging behind of this region. And therefore, these governments should not only look at roads, they should be looking at other infrastructures, telecommunication infrastructures, electricity. We don't have the national grid in northern Kenya. We don't. In the bulk of that. And there are over 2 million people now are in dire situation. And therefore, is that a small percentage? No. It's a huge percentage. 2 million is too big. And that is just the predictability of those that we were able to, or the government was able to contact. There are many more. There are about 2 other million that have not been contacted, that are living in far-flung regions that do not have any communication networks.
We're talking about since 1981, there hasn't been such a drought. And I'm looking at the pastoralism policy that we have in the country. And you have been a legislator, and you would want to, your region to be one of the best. You know, what we're experiencing each and every year, you know, everything is getting a little bit hotter. The climate itself has changed. Do you think we really need to have a real look at the pastoralism policy and all the laws that govern that as well?
Absolutely. I concur that we have to have a policy. And that policy is not there. Nobody is talking about. And if anybody talks about it, they are shut down. Let me tell you something. Kalahari Desert is a desert. It's a tough desert. It's a tough terrain. It's a tough land. The Bushmen of Southern Africa, I'll not say South Africa because even Namibia is included, Botswana is included, and several other parts, and the South African country. Now, the Kalahari Desert is known to be harsh and critical, given that that is a place that is known to have survived for the millions of years.
Yeah.
We are surviving for the millions of years. That is where we are first. Secondly, is that what are the strategic positions that the government needs to take? The strategic position the government needs to take is not to rush when the challenge is there, is to mitigate, is to have safety nets. And what are these safety nets? Provision of power, electricity, that is, where, you know, where I was born, the home that I was born, there is no electricity still up to today. And the closest that we have is a generator provided electricity. There is no transportation, road networks are not there. It's not that we are trying to get them there. They are not there. And are we going to get them there? Yes, we will do our best to get there as a government, for instance. But if the government gets it there, what they are going to get only is the beginning of it. Another 50 years will take until road networks has reached every part. If it is continued, if that planning is continued on. Third, and that is where you will be able to provide. Third is financial support for nomadic pastoralists. The way the people, you know, who are doing coffee, tea, maize, avocado, and all these, you know, other farmers, the way they are being supported, the livestock farmers are never given any support. And I challenge my friend, a very good friend of mine, the Minister for, or the CS for Agriculture, Honorable Kago. I challenge him to today come out and say that this is what we are planning for the livestock people. Provide that, put that on the table, put that on the budgets, ensure that it is given the same level as that. We are the feeders, the meat feeders of this country.
Yeah.
We provide meat to this country. Why can't we not be given that opportunity? We bring even cash money, you know, hard currency from the Middle East. We export our meat to the Middle East. Although there is a challenge in the export because there is no policy in the government that actually supports livestock people. So, you know, this is an issue that is there. And we've been banging the tables, asking for support for this to be done. And unfortunately, 80% of the Kenyan landmass is forgotten, utterly forgotten. Subsequent nations, subsequent governments have forgotten. We are getting a bit of a reprieve because someone who has got a nomadic pastoralist background is at the helm today and trying to see how we can move things. But these are historical challenges that we had, and we really need to do something about it.
And I'm glad that you're doing something as an individual.
Yes, indeed. And in fact, in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to the region to go and provide food relief. And we have already budgeted up for that through my humanitarian support system. So KBC will see that and know that we have also put some food on the table for some people.
Yeah, and of course,
at the level we can.
Even the media, we also need to rope in the media so that we may be able to highlight this and also highlight the plight of not only those who are suffering, but also who are providing the likes of you. Thank you indeed so much,
The pleasure is mine.
Professor Honorable Omar Mohammed, who is the immediate former Member of Parliament for Wajir South. They are telling us how the situation is, and especially when it comes to the humanitarian aid. And also, as he said, and rightly so, is that we really need to relook at to have a relook at the pastoral policy here in the country. We also need support, just like tea, coffee, and even avocado farmers in the country. Many thanks indeed for joining us on News Check. Many thanks indeed. My name is Njue. On the sign language interpreter has been Lensa Odingo. I'm now giving the baton to the Swahili desk. I see my colleague Kayaro is ready for Kurunzi and Tambili. Many thanks. Have a good afternoon.
A robot as a personal chauffeur, a self-driving truck, or a remote-controlled rental car. Is this what the traffic of tomorrow looks like? Mobility of the future, now on Shift. A humanoid robot behind the wheel. That still takes some getting used to, but don't worry, so far our metal friend is only for testing. Cameras in the eyes are scanning the road. AI systems determine what actions are required to drive the car and react to the change of a traffic light or a person stepping onto the road. Researchers at a university in Japan's capital, Tokyo, have developed the robot Musashi. It has a human-like skeleton, muscles, and force sensors in its hands and feet. With 74 artificial muscles and 39 joints, it can apply the handbrake, activate the blinker, or step on the gas. Musashi is still a long way from being an alternative to humans. So far, the robot is only able to drive across the test site at 5 kilometers per hour. But in the future, it should be able to drive any car. And scientists assume that a robot like Musashi will be much cheaper than a self-driving car. In San Francisco, self-driving cabs from Waymo